Welcome to our March safety meeting. This instruction's prepared for school bus drivers at Beach Transportation as part of their ongoing training. This month, we're going to be talking about maintaining space around your bus, keeping your bus safe from obstacles or close contacts. This meeting, especially this month, is for big bus drivers. Our minibus drivers this month will be having a presentation by our school district for special needs, students with special needs. So, as you can see behind me, we are going to be talking about keeping a safe following distance in amongst this space management. So let's get started without further ado. All right, as you can see, big bus space management, choices that we can make, decisions that we have to make, and the consequences of those choices and decisions. Because of the size of your bus, tight places occur almost every day. It's easy to hit something if you're not aware of the space your bus needs to maneuver and you don't protect that space. Get some of this stuff out of the way. All right, tight places. I want you to think of some examples of tight places for a school bus. And here's one example. Going in and out of the garages, of course, can be very tight. Parking our buses in our garages can be very tight. Can you think of some other places? So parking lots with parked cars. Of course, the school loading zones, curbs, our little roundabouts, our little calming devices, alleys. Some Missoula roads are very narrow, daycare centers, motels where we drop off, construction zones. A multitude of places can be tight with a 35-foot long school bus. So, space problems. Problems in traffic. If you are too close, if you don't have space, it reduces your reaction time. And that's where that following distance comes in. In tight situations, for example, going into the garage, parking between buses, you've got to protect all four sides of your bus. And oftentimes we get fixated on one corner because that's where it's the tightest and we forget the other three corners. With a school bus, the back tires don't follow the front tires. Another space problem that creates problems when you're making turns. And then backing can be dangerous because you don't have visibility. These are all things you know. I just want to bring it back to your remembrance so that you can focus on those areas. Because of the weight of the bus, you can be pulled off the road if you're too close to the edge. I was kind of thinking about field trips in this instance where you're on a rural road that may not be paved. If you get too close to the edge, that can slough off. Moisture, especially in the spring when it's rainy and wet. Okay, some of the skills to avoid accidents. Looking ahead, looking around. Those are skills you can use. Being attentive. Using your mirrors to manage the space, making sure you're not too close. rocking and rolling in your seat. And that's just leaning forward. In our big buses, the side mirror is a blind spot. Oftentimes at an intersection, it can block an entire car. So you need to rock in your seat to see around those obstacles. Leaving room, space all the way around your bus. Merging safely as we go onto freeways or merging from a side street onto a busy main street. Managing the space when you turn, so we don't take out telephone poles and stop signs and curbs and pedestrians. Getting out and looking when you back. Parking so you don't have to back up. That can be a skill. Sometimes it's really hard to find a place. Driving the speed limit for conditions. Not rushing. Those were all skills that we're going to cover, and we'll go through one at a time. So the first one was looking, keeping your eyes moving. So this is a very busy street. I know there's a street similar to this as you go into Spokane, the freeway, but you've got multiple lanes, both directions. It's very busy. What's going to happen? Is there a car on your right? Is there another car on your left? What's the car ahead of you going to do? But our focus can't be just in this little tiny area. We've got to be looking way ahead and then moving back so we can see all of what's happening around us. Your eyes have to be very busy as you're driving. So using your eyes helps you gather information. It helps you evaluate that information and safely react to it. If you don't see what's happening, you can't react to it quickly. So we're going to look ahead 15 seconds if you're going under 30 miles an hour, and that's about a block and a half. If you're going over 30 miles an hour, which I suspect these people are, you need to look ahead about a quarter of a mile, which is way up here. Scanning, watching. Also, your peripheral vision can catch a lot of what's going on to the sides of you. I know when you go in for your DOT physical, they always try to check what you can see, how far back you can see when you're looking ahead. That's your peripheral and what's happening to the sides of you. It's going to catch color and light and movement. And this is an early warning system that our brains have that connects our eyes to our evaluation and gathering that information. Okay, number 2 is our mirrors. So mirrors help gather information on either side of our bus and behind us. Those places where we don't see as distinctly, that we have tools to help us see what's beside us and what's behind us. And of course, knowing that you have big doors and windows and things behind you in the back of your bus, that limits the information that you can gather. It helps you check your blind spots. This mirror, especially a little bit of your crossover mirror. We should be scanning our mirrors every 5 to 8 seconds. And by scanning, we don't want to look left, look right, check those mirrors that way. It's best if you have a scanning process. So you're looking in your left mirror, then you're looking forward. You're looking in your right mirror, then you're looking forward. You're checking your student mirror, then you're looking forward. It should be a continual process. And oftentimes we get complacent with that and we just focus on what's in front of us when there can be a lot going on around us that could be a potential problem. These mirrors are essential in tight areas. They help us see the space between us and the obstacle that we're trying to maneuver through. Problem is like I said at the beginning, we tend to focus on the closest object, the most intense part of that tight situation. And we sometimes forget about where the other three corners of our bus are. So in a tight situation, we can't just plow through it. We've got to go slow. Even if we're out in the public on a road and we come to a squeeze point, we can't just get the front of the bus through without watching the back coming through that tight area. And cars around us are just going to have to wait until we get our big bus through that tight area. So here's kind of a picture of some damage that can easily happen in a tight place. So what parts of your bus do you have to watch when you're going through a tight place? And I've already given you that answer, and that's all four corners of your bus. All right, number 3 was rocking and rolling, and I kind of did a little bit of that on the way to work this morning, had the tunes cranked up. But this is to avoid the blind spots, especially on that left-hand side. So this is used mostly when you're stopped at a stop sign, at a stoplight. Before you move, you should check that blind spot by leaning forward in your seat, leaning back, looking around that blind spot you have on the left. There's a little bit on the right, but mostly on the left. I keep giving you answers, but where are the blind spots in your bus? Okay, number 4 was leave room. We need to leave space around your bus in all situations, and that's think of when you come up to a stop sign, think about the space between you and the vehicle ahead of you. I know several years ago, I was coming in from the Lolo area. I was stopped at a stoplight behind a semi-truck. And I had left adequate space, thankfully, because his foot evidently came off the brake a little bit and he started rolling back toward me. I quickly got on the horn and alerted him to the situation. But if I had not left space, he would have rolled back into me and damaged the bus, damaged his vehicle. You should always maintain a minimum of 4 seconds of following distance when you drive. So think about in town, you're going under 40 miles an hour. Think about what that space looks like. It's usually 3/4 of a block distance. And it gets to where you don't count it anymore. You just know what that distance looks like. So when let's go back. When the space in front of you is filled by another vehicle, you need to let your foot off the accelerator and reestablish your space. So I did also want to talk about the space when we're traveling at a faster speed. We still need to maintain that space, but because of the speed, we need to what? Yeah, increase the following distance at least 1 second. Okay. I've had drivers say that, well, I keep that space in front of me and then always another vehicle cuts in and I just lose time because I'm trying to maintain that space. But you're never going backwards. You're never stopping. You're just releasing that accelerator and reestablishing your space. It's just a protective measure. Remember that if another vehicle fills that space and we have an accident, it's going to put us way behind. rather than just maintaining the space. Okay, following too close. I guess we'll probably get into that. This bus driver evidently was a little too close or wasn't watching that vehicle. I had a friend a couple months ago that was stopped behind a vehicle. No, they were in front of the vehicle, and they started pulling out into traffic and changed their mind and stopped. The car behind them ran into them, and it was the other car's fault. And, sometimes you would say, well, they shouldn't have stopped, but they're protecting their vehicle. If you're behind another vehicle, it's your responsibility to maintain that space, regardless of what they do. So you should establish that following distance or that space immediately upon moving from a stopped position. So what situations make it hard to keep your following distance? Of course, cars cutting in between you. Rush hour traffic sometimes makes it hard. How do you maintain that cushion? I think it's a direct focus. You've got to, knowing that you need that space around you, you've got to maintain it as much as possible by allowing that space to happen, watching the sides, watching in front. So realize that your bus is slow. When it's full, it weighs approximately 29,000 pounds, almost 15 tons. That's a lot of weight. So just because you and the driver's seat can get out in front of an oncoming vehicle does not mean that the entire bus can get out in front of that vehicle. If you make the other vehicle slow down or touch their brake because you're pulling out in front of them, you are wrong to pull out in front of them. So I think we often get in a hurry. We're trying to maintain a schedule, or we want to get done as soon as possible, or we have to get to a place quickly. We oftentimes push this limit. Because we're slow, it takes us a while to get out onto a street. And if we don't allow that other vehicle its space, we're in the wrong. And if there is an accident, it would be our fault. So pulling out in front of traffic. This is kind of a bad deal. It looks like there was a lot of damage to that other little vehicle. I don't know the circumstances, but our buses are big and strong and tough and heavy. And oftentimes when a car hits us or we hit a car, the car has the most damage. We're not going to talk a lot about accidents today, but the potential of accidents. So how far away should that other vehicle be before you pull out in front of them? You're on a side street at a stop sign. You're merging onto a fast-moving main street. Maybe they're going 35. How far away should that other vehicle be before you pull out in front of them? So I want you to think about that space of following distance, which is 4 seconds. That's the same amount of space you need as you pull out onto that main street. In seconds, how quick can a big bus pull out from a side street and be straight in the lane? That's 4 seconds, about a block. And that's 25 to 35 mile an hour traffic. If it's faster traffic, you need more space. Okay, pulling into traffic requires patience. And not just a little bit of patience in Missoula, but lots and lots of patience. Our traffic has become heavier in the last couple of years as we've had an influx of of people moving into the valley. Patience is a huge trait that bus drivers need to somehow develop. How do you measure 4 seconds? Visually double your regular following distance. Okay, turning accidents. Damage happens when we don't watch our mirrors. We damage parked cars, posts, mailboxes, and other buses. Those are some of our victims as we make incorrect turns. When we hit something as we turn, it tells us that we don't understand how to manage the space around our bus. Oftentimes it means that we've gotten lazy with the skill of managing that turn. We're not watching our mirrors. Oftentimes you can feel that it just doesn't feel like you've got enough space as you make the turn. And that's when you need to stop and pay extra attention, because your brain, after you've driven for a while, your brain will tell you that it's not enough space. Don't ignore that little reminder that you have. But if you watch your mirrors, you can stop before there's contact. But you've got to watch your mirrors, and you've got to watch the mirrors until you complete the turn, till the back end, which doesn't follow the front end, clears the obstacle, which could be just a curb. Okay, turning accidents can be avoided. So we need to use your eyes and your brain as you approach the corner. Well before you start that turn, you should be processing how tight that corner is, what the obstacles are. Is there a car in the oncoming lane? Is there a parked car on your right as you turn? What are the obstacles? Then watch your convex mirror, the little one on the bottom, every time you turn. If the object's too close, you can then adjust your turning radius to avoid hitting the object or stop before you hit the object. But the big key here is watching every time and watching until you're past the obstacle. This is something I wanted to bring up to you. We've just had clarification that at these little calming devices, you can legally turn to your left without going all the way around this circle. But the considerations have to be, is anyone coming from your left? Because if there is, you can't make that tight cut around corner. You're going to have to wait until the intersection is clear and then make that turn. It still might be better, a safer choice to go around and go down to an intersection where it doesn't have a traffic calming device like this little roundabout. Okay, backing is difficult. So think about what happens when you back up. And we park our buses on the lot, oftentimes by backing them into a position. Or after you've parked, you have to back up to get out of that position. And backing can be a difficult, costly maneuver because it's hard to see behind you. There's a lot of blind spots in the back of our buses that make backing difficult. So backing is actually the second step that we do. I want you to think about what the first step is. Here's your scenario. You're going out to your bus. You need to back it out from between two buses or back it out of a garage. What is your first step when backing? Your first step is looking around you, knowing what's around your vehicle. You shouldn't back up until you know what's behind you, what's on the side of your bus. That's something you can easily assess as you approach your bus. Paying attention, connecting, putting on your bus driver hat as you approach the bus, leaving your other distractions away, on a shelf, put it away from your mind and become a bus driver. So if your bus is in the garage, you look around as you approach it. What are the hazards? Is there a post to your right or left, a support post? Is there a bus closer on one side or the other side? Is there anything behind you? As you back up, is there anything that could move into your space? All things that you should think about first before you back up. Sometimes if you've been sitting in your bus for a little while and you need to back up for some reason, you need to get out of your seat and look at what's behind you. What has moved into your space? It's still part of this knowledge of what's around you. If you have a group of people and you get in a spot where you have to back up, it's best to have a spotter, but it's second best. Your first best is, no, I would say third best. So your first best would be stay in a spot where you're not going to have to back up. Your second best thing would be getting out and looking yourself, seeing what's around. And your third key or help here is having a spotter, but letting them know what specific things you need them to watch, the sides of the bus. And if they are sitting in the front of your bus trying to look out the back window, they're not going to see the things on the sides. They're not going to see the things that are down below you. That kind of brings up using your attendant as a person that's spotting you when you back up. And I know there's not many bus drivers with us today, but some of you in big buses have attendants. Don't take their word for what's behind you if they're sitting way up in front trying to just kind of look out the window. You can probably see more than they can. So let them know what you want them to watch. And it's best if your spotter gets out of the bus and stands behind you and directs you. And then go slow anytime you're backing. Don't hurry with your backing. Okay, number 8, if possible, don't back. Like I said, that's probably the best option. When you park your bus someplace, assume that people will drive up next to you and park and block you in. Park where you can't be blocked in, where you have space in front of you that you can pull out, those types of things. At the school, make sure you arrive early, get in the correct order, leave room for the bus in front of you so they don't have to back up to park. Now, there are tiny exceptions. If a bus is running late, you maybe need to pull ahead. But most of the time, we want to line up in order and we want to leave room for the bus in front of us so they don't have to back up. Okay, driving the speed limit. Going fast, whether it's the speed limit or not, decreases your reaction time. Think about how fast you have to stop if a deer jumps out in front of you. If you are going 15 miles an hour, how easy is it to stop? Compared to if you're going 60 or 70 miles an hour and that same deer hops out in front of you. What's the deer's best chances of surviving that accident or surviving with its life at 15 miles an hour or at 70 miles an hour. We don't stop very fast. Speed decreases your reaction time because the thing you see up ahead of you that is a problem comes at you a lot quicker, and you can't react to it as quick. This speed makes a bigger impact when you're involved in an accident. Going slow will cause damage, but going fast creates bigger damage. It increases your chance of sliding and slipping if the roads are slippery. We're in the middle of our transition from what we had as winter into spring. Some days we have sunshine, followed by rain, followed by snow, followed by freezing ice. We might wake up to freezing fog. We might have wind. Lots of variables this time of year. So this is still not out of the question, this sliding and slipping on the roadway. And our general manager always says you get paid for by the hour, and there's no extra pay for getting finished sooner than somebody else. Take your time. So what is rushing compared to speeding? Rushing's a different mindset than speeding. A person who's rushing tries to take shortcuts with the rules and uses their skills to try to accomplish the task faster. When you are rushing, your focus and your mindset is on doing things as quick and easiest as possible, whether it's a rolling stop at a stop sign, whether it's driving through a light that's turned yellow well before you get there. It's taking corners without looking and not decreasing your speed. A lot of things come into rushing. And nothing about rushing is safe or good. So how do you avoid rushing? Get to work on time or a little early so you don't feel like you have to hurry to make up time. Decide for yourself that you'll drive safely during the entire route and that you won't rush through the safety procedures that you've been asked to do to get done faster. Then don't plan activities that are too close to your driving schedule that make you feel like you need to rush. Oh, I've got somebody coming to look at the furnace or to come trim a tree or to come repair something, and they're going to be there at 4:30 and I get off normally at 4:20. If I hurry just a little bit, I can maybe make it home in time. Don't plan activities that are too close to your schedule. So we would ask that you use all your skills. When you were trained to drive a bus, those skills were introduced to you. They were given to you to help you develop habits, to help you drive safely. So managing space skills are use your eyes. They need to be busy assessing the space around you. You need to use your mirrors while driving and in tight places. That again involves your eyes. Rock and roll in your seat to cover the blind spots. That also includes your eyes. If you need to back up, get out and look. Make sure of what's behind you. That also involves your eyes. Go slow. Stopping is a good tool too. Be patient and don't rush. So as you can see, 4 of the 6 of these suggestions have to do with watching, being attentive, being alert, and then engaging your brain, which involves all 6 of these, engaging your brain and your mindset to be a careful driver protecting the space around your bus. So if I do that, this screen is just kind of something that I'd like you to think about. Be safe, drive smart, but think about, if I do that, what happens? When you make a driving decision, what could happen because of the decision you've just made? So I choose to run that yellow light. What could happen? I choose to not stop completely at stop signs. What could happen? I choose to pull out in front of a truck on Reserve Street when it's too close. What could happen? These are defensive driver questions that you should be asking yourself anytime you're behind the wheel, evaluating your choices, your decisions, making good choices and decisions so that the risk is taken away. Remember that safety is freedom from risk, having alleviated or mitigated, making the risk smaller or non-existent by adhering to the safety skills and tools that we've tried to teach. So what are the risks? Are you willing to take the risk? And sometimes we get in our mindset that, yes, I'm a great driver, I'm a confident driver, I know what this bus can do, and we become willing to take risks that we shouldn't. You have the skill to reduce risks. You have the skills to be a safe driver. Things happen out there in the driving world, but because of the skills you have, the skills you've been taught, the policies and the procedures that we instill here at Beach Transportation, you can reduce the risk you have driving out there in the mad world of Missoula driving. So safety, success. Success is achieved by developing our strengths, not by necessarily eliminating our weaknesses, but developing our strengths. What strengths can you develop? I'd like you to think just briefly now about what is one thing that you can improve on in your driving. Is it your patience with traffic? Is it running yellow lights? Is it rolling through stop signs? Is it not setting your brakes when you pick up kids? Is it not using your mirrors when you turn or when you're in a tight place until the obstacles are passed? And then take one of those things that you're struggling with a little bit, that you've got a little complacent with, and work on developing it into something that is back to that safe procedure, strong. Space management, you can do it. Space management requires us to look ahead and around us and be constantly alert to the obstacles or dangers that are potentially around us. Hazards demand quick decisions made with knowledge and confidence. What can I do to avoid that hazard? Good choices bring good consequences. And those are the choices that we want to make. The safe choices, the good choices. I would like you to improve your skills to ensure a safe travel on our bus. Keeping you safe, keeping the bus safe, keeping the students you transport safe. Please evaluate your skills. Be successful with safety. You know, we all kind of look at, this is what we think safety looks like. This is what success looks like in that process. but this is really what it looks like. We work at it, we stumble a little bit, we reassess, we keep going, we work at it, and eventually we get to the point where we want to be. This is reality. We're human beings. We make mistakes. We get a little complacent. But because we have that brain that we have as human beings, we have the reasoning. We can be successful if we choose to work on our weaknesses, to work on developing strong guidelines and principles of safe driving. So I'll just leave you with that thought. I do appreciate you, your attendance. If you're watching for Beach Transportation, please fill out your sheet and get that turned in. And we will see you next month. Have a good one. Be safe.